16. Naming my 3 sons. What is your name? Who named you? Do you have any interesting stories about your name? Here is a meaningful story involving my uncle, who later became my father. I was adopted by his second wife after his first wife died. He was born in 1900 and passed away at the age of 94. One of my hobbies is raising puppies. The dogs are cute and are good friends of mine. All of them live on an island, watching over my tree and fish farms. When puppies are born, I give them a variety of names, such as Dodo, Mimi, and Sol. Some Korean people make English names for their dogs like Tony or Mary, but I don't. They're Korean dogs. When 11 puppies were born, some of them grew to be adult dogs before even having a name. I didn't call them dog or dogu, 2 syllables, because that's what many Korean people call dogs, whether the animals are male or female. I have 3 sons whose names are Heeman Kim, Hidal Kim, and Hiduk Kim. When my first son was born, I needed a name for him, but I didn't know how to choose names for people, just dogs. My mother suggested that we go to someone who makes a living making names for people. I said, let's ask my uncle first and listen to what he has to say. When I asked him for a name, my uncle said, I have been thinking of a name ever since you got married. This morning, I went to see the brand new baby at the hospital. His name will be Heeman Kim. He, in Chinese characters, means shining. Man means achieving at the end. He may not be a great person from birth, but he is sure to become a successful person when he gets older. I had another thought about the name. I was reminded of 2 former presidents of Korea, Lee Seung-man, the first president of Korea, and Park Chung-hee, the 5th president. I thought that the name was meaningful and easy to remember. Years passed before we had another son. My mother tried to convince me that we should pay a famous name maker to choose a good name for my second son. But I called on my uncle and talked with him about the name. He said, I have been thinking about what name would be the best since you accepted my name for your first son. Today at the hospital, a nurse showed me your second son, and I knew that he would be a very successful scholar. His name will be Hidal, which means brightness and mastery. However, I didn't like the name. I was afraid that his friends would make fun of him because his name was in the title of a movie, Full Ondal. Later, I interpreted the name in my own way. Dal is Korean for moon. I hope that he would make the world bright just like the moon. 3 years later, our 3rd baby was born. Before another family argument could start, I went to see my uncle and asked him for a name. He said, for the last 3 years, I have been trying to think of one letter out of 100,000 Chinese characters. I finally came to a decision, which is duck. I didn't like the name because it sounded like stupid. I asked my uncle to select 1 or 2 other letters that would sound more powerful and vital than duck. 2 days later, my uncle broke his neck. He had slipped on the vinyl of the plastic bathhouse as he was leaving. He had to stay in the hospital for 6 months. I went to the hospital at night to look after him. At about 3 o'clock one morning, he said to me, Ever since you asked me to select another Chinese character for your son, I have tried and tried. However, no word is better than duck, which means virtue. No matter how intelligent, rich, powerful, and wise a person may be, he can't succeed unless he shows virtue to others. A person should learn to give and help others. That is the definition of virtue. I was ashamed of having procrastinated in registering my son's name. For 6 months, he had lived without a name. Everyone called him Baby or Piggy Kim. The next day, I registered Hiduk Kim at the government office. I had to pay a penalty to the government for the delayed registration. I sometimes find nice, intelligent people who are quick to anger and always act on impulse. They sometimes commit crimes, get divorced, or cause accidents. They hurt others and themselves. When we have important things to do, We should be calm, make plans, and consider things from many different angles. My uncle, whom I respect very much, knew that failing to plan is planning to fail. To think that he spent 3 years to select one Chinese character out of a million.